5 years after the events of the season 1 finale, Joel and Ellie live back with Tommy in Jackson, but their relationship has become strained. This causes Joel to see a therapist named Gail, who also admits that she resents Joel for killing her husband Eugene. And this is one of the first big changes from The Last of Us Part 2. Not that there is anything to suggest that Joel wasn't seeing a therapist in the video game, but this episode allows us to immediately focus on the rift that has developed between Ellie and Joel, whereas the video game showed us that development in snippets that were sprinkled throughout the entire narrative. Also, Eugene was already dead by the time the video game began, so Joel having killed him adds an extra layer of drama. Because, Joel has killed plenty of people, which has definitely led to him having plenty of enemies. But while Ellie may be pissed off at Joel specifically, that doesn't stop her from having some fun with her love interest, Dina. And while they go on patrol together, they find a new kind of infected that silently stalks their prey. Stalkers. And this was a smart way of showing that the infection hasn't remained stagnant throughout the years. That it, like most things in life, is constantly evolving. Because while stalkers may have existed as an enemy type in the original video game, they technically weren't introduced in the first season of the show. So this allowed their introduction in this season to be effective and narratively interesting. My only issue with the scene, and maybe with the episode in general, is that Ellie doesn't feel as grown up as her video game counterpart. I mean, this is a world that will definitely age you in a short amount of time, let alone 5 whole years. So I was surprised to see that Ellie didn't feel quite as mature as she did at this point in the video game. But that doesn't take away from Bella Ramsey's performance, because despite what any of the haters have to say about it, I still think she is absolutely great in this role. And so is Pedro Pascal for that matter, who is particularly fantastic in this episode specifically. I also like Isabella Merced's portrayal of Dina, and I really enjoy the chemistry that she has with Bella Ramsey's Ellie. But when Dina and Ellie kiss while at a family party, the bar owner calls them a homophobic slur, which quickly prompts Joel to attack him. But an angered Ellie tells Joel that she doesn't need his help, which causes him to leave. And that is definitely sad to see, especially since Joel has been trying his best to connect with Ellie. But these are the consequences of the actions that he took in the season 1 finale. Regardless of whether he did the right thing or the wrong thing, he lied to Ellie and made her feel like her life is meaningless. So of course she's gonna resent him in some way. She doesn't trust him anymore. And this is why the episode is structured the way that it is, so that we can feel bad for Joel before he gets killed off. But I'll get back to that in a second, because as the people of Jackson are celebrating the new year, infected tendrils begin to enter the town through a broken pipe as Abby and her friends observe the town from afar. Yes, Abby is here, and she, along with all of her friends, have sworn to kill Joel for the hospital massacre in the season 1 finale, which is definitely the biggest change from the video game, and I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that just yet. Spoilers if you didn't already know, but Abby kills Joel pretty quickly into The Last of Us Part 2. As a matter of fact, his shockingly sudden death is the catalyst that propels the rest of the story forward. But it also came as a surprise to the player. It came out of nowhere and immediately jolted the player into action. But by telling the audience about Abby and what her ultimate goal is, the episode has basically given the viewer time to brace for Joel's death. And Sure, some people will think Abby is a traditional villain who will fail at killing Joel, but that doesn't take away from the fact that the idea of Joel's death has now been planted in their minds. So it's clear that the show is messing around with the game's timeline and is trying to do its own thing, which is totally fine. It should do that. But it'll be interesting to see how the audience ultimately responds to these plot points, since they will have an effect on the way people view or feel about the story overall. Especially if his death is going to be a hugely climactic moment that everyone can see coming from miles away. Because based on the Weeks Ahead trailer that HBO released, it looks like everything is going to lead up to a climactic showdown at Jackson, one involving a horde of infected along with Abby and her gang. And whether these changes will result in a satisfying narrative for television remains to be seen. But given how good the rest of the series has been, I do have faith in the creative team behind this show. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching this series every week, especially since I can compare and contrast it with the video game. But I guess we'll see what'll actually happen on the second episode of The Last of Us Season 2 once it gets released on Sunday.